Welcome to the Strong Enough podcast, where we talk about the challenges and celebrate the triumphs of people from all walks of life. I'm your host, Claudia. Today's guest is going to share how a devastating diagnosis actually turned her life around. She's been able to check things off her bucket list and add even more items, and she's finally living life for her. She's also going to talk about her book, The Road Unpaved, and what inspired her to write it. Please help me welcome Risa August. Risa, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Claudia. I'm so happy to be here.
I am so happy to have you here, and it was also super exciting to find out that we're kind of neighbors.
Yes.
I feel like the whole Denver metro, like we're all family and neighbors out here. So it's super awesome that you're a fellow Coloradan. Is that what we are? Are we Coloradans?
We are. Yes.
Excellent. So great to have another one on here. So I'm going to start with, what will be the most difficult question of the entire podcast. So I hope that you've prepped for this one. Tell us a little about yourself.
No, I hate this question.
It is the worst one. I do admit that.
Well, my name is Rissa, but it's spelled with one S, and that always messes people up. I grew up outside of Cleveland, and when I turned 21, though, I kind of never looked back. I traveled the world and ended up landing in Colorado, where I, through a long journey, became an award-winning author, speaker, Gestalt practitioner, and a patient advocate. So,
Nice.
yes.
So we have a lot of places we could start. Let's go with award-winning author because I see your book behind you, and I know that your book has a lot of pieces of your life where you have overcome and triumphed. So I would love for you to talk about what inspired you to write.
Yes, well, I kind of always been a writer. I had a friend turned me on to journaling. Maybe I was 18 or 19, and I realized I liked writing, and I wasn't half bad at it. And so someday I was going to write a book, and that went on my bucket list. And over the years, I would start and stop, and just never quite find the thing. And after a pretty serious diagnosis, I decided this was it. This was the story, and this was the time to start checking things off my bucket list. And so that's how that journey started, with writing my memoir.
So let's talk a little bit about that diagnosis because, as a lot of people know, I live with chronic illness. I am not at risk, ideally, of dying anytime soon because of it, but this sounds a little more serious. So will you talk a little bit about what you went through with your diagnosis?
Sure. It was actually quite a long journey to diagnosis. I was an Ironman athlete, super fit, lived a very rigid lifestyle, rigid like in training, but also like in work and life. And I was the type of person that, everything's organized and probably color coded and all that. So, um, but I started noticing things not adding up with my body physically. Things were changing. And I like extreme weight gain despite training for Ironman and eating really regimented and changes in hair growth and bone structure. And so there was nothing though that was like, wow, that's the thing. Like something, it wasn't until, let me back up here. I was seeing doctors, and I was someone who didn't see doctors, but I started seeing doctors because I was like, there's something off here. And I kept thinking it was my thyroid, and I kept being told, Your blood works fine. You're an athlete. I'm not worried. You're fine. And 7 years later, I had some pretty gnarly headaches, like nonstop, all the time, severe, the kind where you don't sleep because they're so painful. And I remember going into the doctor's office and saying, I'd like to order an MRI just to rule anything out. And she told me no. And I asked her again, and she said, I don't think you need one. And besides, they're very expensive. And there was something in me that day that decided I need to get that MRI. So I essentially demanded it. And after that, 1 week later, I had a email from her with one sentence saying, "You have an enlarged pituitary. Uh, go see an endocrinologist." And I had no idea what any of that meant. And it turns out I had a massive tumor at the base of my brain, and it came with a very destructive disease called acromegaly. And if left untreated, it's uh, very much probably an what would I say? Early death, I guess. But
I was going to go with demise. Death is
demise,
probably
I like that.
nicer. So,
Yes, I like that better. Yeah, I couldn't find the word, but it led to, yeah, it led to brain surgery, radiation treatment, and I exist with it today, but I have to be on medications and I'm just navigating a changing body, things that are out of my control. So, and for someone who lives such a rigid life, that's difficult to let go of that control. So,
you gave me a lot of things that I want to hone in on here. The first is this doctor. I'm a little annoyed, but super glad that you persisted. And I think that's where a lot of particularly women struggle is they feel like something's wrong, they believe something's wrong, but they have trouble really advocating for themselves and sometimes demanding what they need. So, is that just your personality, or was it just something inside you that day said, I have to do this?
I would have to say it was something that day because typically I was always a rule follower
Mm,
and I just abided by the rules and authority, and so I just would always assume the doctors knew what they were
mm,
talking about. But yeah, there was something divine that day that was like, hey,
mhm.
speak up here. And I never looked back. I've never been quiet since. And I think a lot of people don't like me because of it, but I don't care.
Exactly. Who cares? Because I think once you have the courage to do that, it becomes much easier in other aspects of your life as well. And I feel like you and I are kind of kindred spirits because I also am that person who speaks up. I speak up against, people who are wronged and people who are treated unfairly. And, sometimes I get caught in the crossfire, but to me, it's totally worth it because of the people who can't speak up for themselves. And I feel like some of us have to do it for them as well. What has that been like for you, though, to kind of find that voice and now use it in all areas of your life?
Yes, well, I think it's still a learning curve. Like I kind of went in hot. Like I after that I was like mad at every doctor I would see and I was fired by doctors and I eventually, connected with an organization and someone else who has my same disease and he had a different perspective of wait a minute, like we all need to be on the same team So, you're gonna catch more flies with honey kind of thing. And that really shifted for me. And so I think sometimes my voice gets me in trouble still, and I have to check myself. But I'm more aware now that I pause, I pause first, and and ask myself, okay, does this need to does this need to come out or
Am I sure about this?
yes.
Something else that you mentioned that I really connected with just now is the fact that you are a very athletic person, you're a go-getter, you're very active. And when you got your diagnosis, some of those things had to change. You said you kind of had to relearn life, in a different way. For me, that was one of the most challenging things when I got sick. And even though, I'm not laying in bed every day, your life still has to change to some degree. For me, that was super hard. How was that for you to go from somebody who was just probably out there, climbing all the mountains to somebody that had to kind of change a little bit and I don't want to say respect your body because you did that before, but respect the disease, I guess, and how it was affecting your body.
Yes, well, I think at first I was in denial. Probably a stage of grief, but I really thought I was going to bounce back. I
Hmm.
always did, and I remember I was in the neurosurgeon's office before surgery, and I said, I have a 250-mile bike event, like 6 weeks post surgery. So you're gonna clear me by then and I'll be good, right? And he looked at me like I had two heads. And I remember thinking, I'll show him.
Hmm.
But I realized pretty quickly after that I would never be the same person again. And I would never do another Ironman again. And so once I grieved that old self, which I still do at times, I started embracing my new self and opening up to, okay, I can't do this anymore. So what can I do? And that really opened up my world, and I'm a better person for it too.
I feel like you're inside my head, so get out. I love what you just said about I can't do this anymore, but what can I do? That's one of the things that I try to teach people who are dealing with chronic illness when something isn't the same, so maybe now I can't run a marathon or I can't even, eat spicy food, but what can I do? So were there things that you learned that you loved that you'd never had the opportunity to experience before?
Oh gosh, I signed up for anything and everything. Like I pulled out that bucket list and I'm like, and I added to it and I looked at things I'd always wanted to try and I just went for it. And I signed up for all kinds of different dance classes like Bollywood and hip hop and I took aerial silks class and indoor skydiving and axe throwing and you name it. I improv. The list goes on. And so and my gosh, like and it's so fun. Like it's so fun. But I was spending all my time training all the time and
Hmm.
I was missing out on all these really cool, fun things and connections with people and all of it.
So, do you feel now that it happened for a reason, or do you still have kind of that bitterness towards your body and what it did to you?
Yes, I definitely feel like I'm a better person all around. I'm not going to say I don't have my days where I struggle, but I'm just a better person. I'm more patient, I'm more compassionate, I'm more understanding. um, and less judgmental, kinder. And I feel like I'm more fun too. But yes, I feel like I'm an all-around better person. And like I said, there's hard days too, but I
Hmm.
feel like I've got to that place of acceptance, but that doesn't necessarily mean easy. It's
Right.
just like, okay, this is my life now. I could, work against it or
Hmm.
work with it.
Did you have a period of time where you were the victim? Because I did. When I was first diagnosed, I felt sorry for myself and, played the whole, why me? Why did this? What did I do to deserve this? And one day I realized that I could either sit in that victimhood space or I could go live my life. And even though my life wasn't the same, it could still be a pretty good life, just different. So, did you struggle at all with that victim space when you were first diagnosed or when you first got the real diagnosis, not the one sentence email from that doctor?
I think I was still in the old Risa space of, okay, well, what do we need to do to just get this done and get it over
Hmm.
with? And I'm going to show the world that this isn't going to take me
Hmm.
down. But it wasn't until other people started putting me in that victim place of like, oh my gosh, poor you. And of course, like, no, you shouldn't do that. Someone else should do that for you. And so I started thinking like, oh, like should
Hmm.
I feel like mad or sad or about it? Am I suppressing it? Like all those questions came
Hmm.
in. And so yeah, I think I allowed myself to grieve it, but then I didn't want to stay there. Uh,
Hmm.
I didn't want to stay there.
It's interesting that you said, that there kind of people pushed you into that almost. And I feel bad for other people in that they don't know what to say, a lot of times. And so all they can say is, I'm sorry, or, oh, poor you. But that isn't always super helpful. So to the audience, I don't know always what is super helpful, but I think it's important for us to be mindful of not putting people in that space or trying to lift them out of it if that's where they are. I want to talk about your bucket list a little bit because I think it's often something people have, but it just kind of sits in the corner and gathers dust. And it becomes a list of could have beens instead of dids. What's your favorite thing that you have checked off of your bucket list?
Ooh, this is a hard question too.
Is it harder than the first question?
Well, no, the first one's still the hardest and the worst, but Uh, it's just because I gain so much from I gain different things from all the
Hmm.
different experiences. But, I would say one of them was riding from Canada to Mexico on my
Hmm.
bicycle, uh, hiking the Salcantay Pass in Peru and, riding across northern Spain last year, but then I love like improv actually scares me more than like an Ironman race.
Hmm.
So I've been really doing really well in it. And so there's just so much gratitude and gratification in accomplishing something that used to be so terrifying to me to be on stage and
Hmm.
the center of attention and then having to think of stuff off the cuff.
So are you still doing that now? Are you doing improv now?
I do, yes.
In public? Like, I want to come see
Oh
this.
my gosh. Well, I'm still taking classes. I haven't had the courage to reveal myself in public
Right.
outside of the class, but
How are people in a class like that? Because I could see it being very, everybody's terrified. Nobody wants to stand out. it's got your mind racing, your heart's racing. So I could see it definitely being more terrifying than a lot of the things that you mentioned. But yeah, like what's that space like? What's the energy like there?
Well, what was really wonderful is it's so supportive.
Hmm.
Everyone is so supportive, and you there's a mix of people. There's the people that are like chomping at the bit to get on stage and be front and center. And then there's the other people that are like, I will go last. And then if you don't see me, I won't go at all. um, but I see it as another challenge, just like
Hmm.
a bike race or something. Like I'm challenging myself to get on stage and face that fear and face that thing that feels really hard for me. But everyone is super supportive and it's so much fun. There's lots of laughing, which I love.
I love that too. I think we all need more laughter in our lives because it's so refreshing and it's such a release, especially when the world around us is so meh a lot of times. Anything else on your list that also inspires laughter, smiling, that joy that is similar to your improv?
Gosh, I think it's more that I've stopped making excuses and I pause now for things that might seem like simple pleasures in life. They've become so what's the word I'm looking for? They're just so have so much more weight now. So
Hmm.
like I love going to farmers markets on the weekends and I love watching live performances or I don't know, like I just there's just all these I hate to use the word simple, but they're these kind
Hmm.
of simple pleasures in life I'm just savoring more and finding so much more joy in those.
It's the things we take for granted, I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of times, especially when we are well and life is going the way we think it should go. We just kind of gloss over all those little things that can really have so much meaning and so much joy
Mhm.
behind them. What is on your bucket list still that you're just a little nervous about attacking?
Well, I have a TEDx talk coming up at the end of August, so
Hmm.
that makes me very nervous because those they're not. I'm better at off like having conversation and
Right.
dialogue like we are, as opposed to having to memorize something and really hit it home. And so that's very nerve-wracking to me. But my bucket list is still really, really long. Like I just
Hmm.
submitted the screenplay for my book and I want to get my second book finished and out there. And so I think the nervousness comes in is like I feel this sense of urgency, like I'm not going to get it all done, like all the things I want to accomplish, I'm not going to get it all done.
I want to say congratulations on the TEDx.
Thank you.
That is an enormous accomplishment.
Thank you.
So that's fantastic. And it may be something, and you tell me, is that something that was on your radar before your diagnosis at all?
No, it was always I always listened to them.
Hmm.
Never did I think I would be on the stage for one. So yeah, that came after and I think that was part of the new me, stepping out into the world and presenting myself and my story and inspiring others
Hmm.
was a part of the new me, I guess.
It sounds like the new you is really about not only doing things for you and to check off your list or to accomplish things, but you're really more in tune with things that will help others potentially. Do you feel that way?
Yes, there was something you said earlier in our discussion about it's almost like the injustices of the world. Like
Hmm.
I want to stand up for those people, those, for example, other patients who are not feeling heard or being heard, and but I'm going at it in the way of how do we improve doctor-patient relationships and make them
Hmm.
more coactive. And so I travel around the country speaking to medical professionals of like, how do you have that more that relation
Hmm.
that coactive relationship with your patients? And so yeah, so I don't know how well I'm doing, but I'm doing it.
I think that's fantastic because the doctor-patient relationship is so important, especially when you are dealing with a long-term issue, a chronic illness, anything like that. It becomes so meaningful to make sure that you trust that person and that they trust you. How are you finding in breaking through to the medical field? Do you feel like they're hearing you, or is it kind of like, we're good, we got this, everything's great?
Honestly, I feel there's two things. I feel like it depends what generation they're from. I also feel it depends where they're located. So if they're more rural versus in a bigger city, at a bigger kind of medical venue. So it really depends who I'm speaking to. But I think apparently my story is interesting enough because they seem to be listening. So
That is step one, right? I mean, just to get them to listen. So you're doing something right, I would say.
hopefully, yeah, thank
I want to talk about how other patients can advocate for themselves. What would you say to somebody who maybe is in a situation like you were, not feeling well or just not feeling right, but everybody's telling you you're fine or you're crazy? It's all in your head. What do you say to that person who's in that space right now?
I'd say follow your gut. I love researching stuff, so I got online and I tried to find answers myself. And then lastly, ask questions. Like
Mhm.
get all the tests, get all the labs. Had I gotten one blood test, it would have said told us what was going on. So ask for all of it. Now I ask for all of it.
Mhm.
I don't even care if they're like, well, you just had that 6 months ago. Like, well, let's do it again. If something's feeling off or wonky, let's do it again. So speak up. But also, what I've been surprised about, people reach out to me from all over the world, and I'm always surprised at when they say, "Oh, well, I don't know. This is just what my doctor told me," and I would say, okay, well, what did he say about this? And oh, well, he didn't even mention that. And I'm always surprised at how little information the
Mhm.
patients have. And so I'd highly encourage you to, like I said, Google information or find a group that's connected to, what you're facing, and ask questions. Ask questions.
I totally agree with you. I think with all the information out there, and yes, you don't want to run to, I won't say the name of the website, but it rhymes with WebMD, where people joke a lot and say, like, yeah, I put my symptoms in. They said I was going to die. Um, so, we don't want to go that far, but I agree with you that there's so much information out there. And if we would just take a moment to try to find it, we would be doing ourselves a huge, huge favor. Do you find with a condition like yours that is rare or more rare, is it more difficult to find information or is it out there just in smaller quantities so people can't make any excuses? Like it's there, you just got to look for it.
Um, like I said, I'm a detail person and I love research, and I found some generic information, but it still wasn't giving me enough to understand what was happening. And so I actually started reaching out directly to doctors that specialized in what I had. And they were able to direct me to places I could go to get the information I was looking for. And they also provided me with really valuable questions to ask specific to my disease. So so I just kept finding another lead until I finally landed in a place that really helped me.
You mentioned earlier another book. Can you share with us any teasers, any information about book two?
Sure, yes, it's Beyond the Road Unpaved, and it's a continuation of my story, and but it's a different bicycle journey, and I had a very different experience on the bicycle journey. Um, And so it's interesting, kind of the irony of the two and how they're differ. But I'm going to talk about I did a 500-mile bicycle journey across northern Spain on the Camino de Santiago, and what that was like doing that solo and all the things that happened along the way. So, uh, it was let's just say it wasn't my favorite vacation. It wasn't a vacation at all, but it challenged me on every level. But I would never trade the experience.
And your first book, what travel, what bike trip was that related to?
Yeah, so and this is where my patient advocacy journey started. I wasn't finding much information out there. So I thought, all right, I'm gonna bike from Canada to Mexico. One, I need something to live for. I need something to look forward to, something to get me back out in the world and prove to everyone else and myself that I got this.
Hmm.
And maybe I'll wear a little jersey that has acromegaly on it or something.
Hmm.
And but some organizations and doctors and pharmaceutical companies caught wind of this, and it just kind of exploded from there. And um, suddenly I had a whole team and marketing, and it turned into this really big thing. And I went into the ride with one mindset and came out with an entirely new mindset. So, but yeah, so I won't reveal too much. But
How did it feel going into something, as you just said, kind of, I needed to find something to live for that turned into a huge thing that then changed so many other people's lives? What did that feel like for you? And if that's a book spoiler, you can say, go read the book.
yes, well, I didn't really know what I was in for. In a personal manner, I didn't know how my body was going to operate. I didn't really know what to
Hmm.
expect. Um, and then yeah, the journey around the advocacy part was an interesting unfolding. Um, in the beginning, I was annoyed by it, but once I really established my relationship with the mission, like my goals, like what I wanted to do, then that all changed as well. Yeah.
Let's say somebody reads your book and then your books when we get the other one out. If people are left with just one thing about you after reading your book and books? What do you want that thing to be?
Oh, oh gosh.
I'm
Well,
really good at this, see?
I know
Hard
these
questions.
questions. Hell, Claudia. Aside from being authentic, genuine, as real as it gets, man, I really live life on my terms now because for so
Hmm.
long I was that quiet person. I was obedient. I followed the rules. I did everything everyone else's way. But I was also really dim. My light was dim.
Hmm.
And now I'm doing it my way. Like, so I'd love for people to be like, you know what? Rissa did it her way. Cue Frank Sinatra um, because I'm really living on my terms now.
Did you ever feel when you just said I was doing things, everybody else's way? Did you ever feel that in the moment? Or was that just life? And it wasn't until now, doing things your way, that you kind of were able to look back and see, yeah, that's not what I wanted before. This is how I want to live.
Yes, when I was in it, I thought that was just life. I thought,
Hmm.
okay, this is my role, and there were times where I was like, well, I want someone to take care of me for a change, or I want someone to remember my birthday,
Hmm.
or I don't want to always be the photo taker of the group. Like, I
Hmm.
want someone to snap a photo of me, or or think of baking the cake for the birthday. Or, there were moments I wanted that for me, but I didn't. I never thought that. I don't want to say that didn't deserve it, but I just maybe accepted the life I had and was
Hmm.
like, okay, this is the role I'm in, but reflecting back, it was a lot of, control issues and wanting to be in control of everything and take care of everything and if I do it my way, I know it'll be done right and that kind of thing. So when I was in it, I didn't really know. I was aware of it, but reflecting back on it, I
Hmm.
see it very differently.
Does that make you the slightest bit grateful for what you had to go through to get to this place of being yourself and living for you unapologetically?
I definitely like who I am now way more than anyone I've ever been. Like I love this Rissa and life is more sweet or sweeter, I should say. And yeah, I really do. I don't want to sound like what is the cheesy cliche of like, oh, it's such a gift, but I do really like who I am now.
Well, I have put you through the gauntlet on some of these questions. I don't apologize for that. But we're going to switch topics a little bit. Hopefully, I've got a few questions that are a little bit easier. I don't know, but we're going to talk about tattoos. So, I love tattoos. People that know me know that I'm covered in tattoos. I will never get a tattoo on my face or neck. I'm very judgy about those. Um, Whatever, people I'm sure judge me as well. I want to know because you have a few tattoos, I believe. So, what is your favorite tattoo that you have?
Oh my gosh.
This was supposed to be an easier
I
question.
know, right? Each one has a story, right? So,
Is it
um,
like kids? I love them all the same. Is
kind
this
of.
where we're going, Rissa?
I mean, they're all like completely imperfect. But the first one I got was a tattoo on my finger.
Hmm.
Uh, and back then when I got it, not to date myself, but you just no one did hands and feet.
Right.
So I had to like leave the county and like get this covertly done. And it's crooked and it's not perfect, But I love it. And I remember tattoos were kind of frowned upon where I grew up. And I remember in my wedding photo, I had rings on and my tattoo, and the photographer snapped a photo of just my hand holding this beautiful bouquet of flowers. So it was this mix of kind of this feminine and like edge.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember loving that. And but my mom was like, oh, like, oh, a tattoo. And I just remember like just so loving that part of me. And so yeah, I would say probably the one on my finger is one of my favorites.
Do you have any upcoming tattoos or
I
thoughts of tattoos?
I've thought about it. I've definitely thought about it. But nothing yet. Nothing like, oh, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one. So I did have that on one of my second tattoo,
Mm-hmm.
the eyes of Buddha, because I was really into Buddhism at the time, and it looks more like a dragonfly now. But I remember being like, that's what I'm getting, the eyes of Buddha.
So it's been a minute, it sounds like, since you got that one.
Yes.
How long has it been since your last tattoo or your most recent tattoo?
Yes. My most recent one is the Iron Man M dot, which is also imperfect, but and that was back in I think after my first Iron Man race, so like in 2011. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was the last tattoo I thought. But
Wow. So
yeah, if I
it's
get
been a
another
little
one, I
bit.
think it'll be on my foot. I think. I don't know. So,
People say that the foot is very painful. Now, I will tell you, I have a tattoo on my foot. It's fine. And I think you're a badass, so it's going to be fine. I do want to tell you though, tattoo machines don't make noise anymore.
oh, that's
Hmm. I
fascinating.
mean, some do, but
Yeah.
like the higher end ones, like you
Mhm.
can't even hear them. So you walk into a tattoo shop and it's just a totally different thing than it was previously because you had all the buzzing and the noise and now that doesn't exist. It's very trippy, I will tell you.
Oh, fascinating. All right. Well, I will let you know when it happens.
Well, I know some good artists. Let me just say here, also, if you want to do a tattoocation, then I can give you some great places to travel and
Ah,
get your next
awesome.
tattoo.
Okay.
So
All
let's
right.
start thinking about that.
Thank you.
Rissa, where can people find you? So if they want to grab your current book, if they want to just kind of follow along and see what is coming next that you're going to crush on your bucket list, or if, like me, they want to catch you once you do take the real improv stage, where can they find you?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm it's my goal to inspire others. So that's what my website and social media is all about is like, look at all these things I'm doing and you can do them too. But I would have to say you can find everything on my website and it's risaaugust.com. And don't forget, it's Risa with one S. So it's RISA August.com. And I smather everything on my website because I love all the fun different parts of me. So you'll find them all there.
I love it. Rissa, you have been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing just a piece of your life. It has been so inspirational, and I know that you're going to continue making a huge difference for others. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Claudia. This was so much fun. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Strong Enough podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform by searching Strong Enough. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Strong Enough Pod. If you have suggestions for an upcoming episode or a future guest, please reach out at strongenoughpod@gmail.com. Remember, you are worth it.